My name is Sloan Mercer, and I'm 32 years old. 3 nights ago, my boyfriend looked me in the eye and told me I didn't matter socially. He didn't shout it. He didn't say it in the middle of a fight when people spit out things they don't really mean. He said it the way you order a drink you've had 100 times before. Casual, practiced, like the decision was made long ago. If you'd asked me a year ago to describe my life, I would have said it was steady. Not glamorous, not tragic, just solid in a way I'd earned. One project, one late night, one careful choice after another. I work in data analysis for a logistics company. My apartment is a one-bedroom in the city that smells faintly of coffee and printer ink. One corner of the living room is all monitors and spreadsheets and sticky notes in different colors. I know when every bill is due, what my credit score is, and I can tell you exactly how much is in my savings without checking an app. I'm not the loudest person in any room. I'm the one who notices when everyone else leaves their glasses on the table and who's going to have to clear them. The one who remembers birthdays, who books the Uber ahead of time, who checks the last train schedule before anyone else realizes the night is ending. My boyfriend Landon Price is the opposite. He works in brand strategy and PR. High gloss, high noise, high stakes. He thrives in rooms where everyone is talking at once. He knows which bar just opened, which rooftop is the spot this month, which restaurant is impossible to get into unless you're on the right list. Where I like systems, he likes scenes. For most of our first year together, I told myself that was balance. He pulled me out of my quiet routines. I grounded him when he spun too fast. I'd stand at his side at events, nursing a drink, nodding through conversations with people whose names I immediately forgot, and he'd squeeze my hand in the elevator on the way up, saying, "Just an hour, okay? Then we can go home." An hour became 2, 2 became 3. Then, gradually, I wasn't going at all. At first, he'd ask, "Hey, there's a launch thing on Thursday. Want to come?" Sometimes I'd say yes. Sometimes I'd say, "I've got a deadline," or, "Can we just stay in one night?" And he'd kiss my forehead and tell me it was fine. Then the invitations changed. "You wouldn't like it. It's all noise. It's more of a work thing. You'd be bored. These people are my speed. It's fine. We'll do something this weekend." Always with a little smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, like he was reassuring a child who wanted to go somewhere they didn't belong. About 6 months ago, the tone shifted from soft to sharp. "You don't really fit in with my work crowd. My friends think you're kind of quiet. I need to maintain a certain image, Sloan. It's not personal. It's just how the industry works." Every time he said image, something small in me curled up and went quiet. I started noticing patterns I'd ignored before, how he never posted photos with me, how I was always the one behind the camera at brunch, how my name only appeared on his social media when I tagged him, and he left it unshared. He told me early on, "I keep my Instagram professional. It's mostly clients and industry people. I don't want my personal life mixed up in that." And I'd believed him. I'm not a social media person. Half my posts are plants and better lighting. So I stopped checking his profile. It just made me feel small. Like there was a whole version of him that existed on a screen, and I was a separate tab that stayed closed. Last Saturday night, everything snapped. Landon was standing in front of my bedroom mirror, buttoning a black shirt I'd never seen before. The fabric caught the light when he moved. His watch glinted. There was a faint, expensive cologne in the air I definitely didn't buy. "Where are you headed?" I asked from the bed, my laptop open, a spreadsheet glowing back at me. "Out," he said, eyes on his reflection. "Yeah," I said, "I got that part. Out where?" He paused with the cologne bottle in his hand and met my gaze in the mirror. "Why?" I blinked. "Because I live here? And my boyfriend is leaving dressed like a magazine ad? I'm just asking." "It's just a thing with some people from work," he said. "Networking. You'd hate it." "Want me to come?" I kept my tone light, like we were still pretending this was normal. He turned then, leaning one shoulder against the doorframe, studying me. "No." "No?" I repeated. "You don't need to be everywhere, Sloan," he said. "It's not like you matter socially." The words landed like a glass, slipping from someone's hand. That split second of silence before the shatter. I didn't say anything at first. I just stared at him and watched his face, watched the fleeting flicker of regret, the way he almost winced and then smoothed it over. "Wow," I said finally. My voice sounded calm, even to me. "That's clear." "It's not an insult," he said, which is what people say when they've just insulted you. "You're amazing. You matter to me. But in that world, you don't add value. You stand in the corner. You don't network. I can't carry you and my image at the same time. I need to keep my professional life separate from this. He gestured vaguely at my laptop, the room, me. Fair, I said. He frowned. That's it? Fair? If that's how you feel, that's how you feel, I said. Have fun. For a moment, he looked almost disappointed that I wasn't arguing. Then he grabbed his wallet and keys, slipped his phone into his pocket, and walked out. No kiss, no backward glance, just the click of the door. I stood up, closed my laptop, and walked into the living room. I didn't cry. I made tea. I loaded the dishwasher and set it on a delayed start for midnight out of habit. My body moved through the motions of a normal night while my brain replayed the sentence on a loop. It's not like you matter socially. Around 11, I was halfway through a mindless show when my phone buzzed. Instagram notification. Landon Price just added to their story. I almost ignored it. He posted constantly. Cocktails, photos at events, vague motivational quotes. I'd muted half his content months ago out of self-preservation, but something made my thumb swipe up. The story loaded. Landon at some kind of club or rooftop bar, arms wrapped around a woman I'd never seen before. She was pressed against his side, his face turned toward her neck, both of them laughing. Her lipstick was smudged, their cheeks flushed. The caption, "Finally with Bae, best night," with 3 heart emojis. For a second, my brain refused to parse the information. Then it did, all at once. He'd never called me Bae, not in 2 years of dating. He'd never posted a single picture of us on his profile or stories. Not one. Apparently, it wasn't that he didn't post personal life. It was that he didn't post me. I screenshot the story without thinking, thumb moving fast, like my hands knew this might disappear and I needed proof. Then, for the first time in months, I tapped his profile. Landon Price Official. Clean grid, curated colors, brand tags. I started scrolling backwards slowly, like I was walking into a house I'd been told I wasn't invited to. And 3 weeks ago, a dinner photo. Same woman, seated across from him, leaning in, candlelight catching the edge of her smile. She was tagged, @Brielle.Lawson. His caption, favorite person, can't believe I get to do life with you. The comments were a flood of heart emojis and you two are goals and power couple. 5 weeks ago, the two of them at the beach, his arm around her shoulders, her head on his chest. Caption, perfect weekends with this one. 8 weeks ago, a blurry morning selfie with her in the background in one of his t-shirts. Caption, mornings are better like this. 4 months of photos, her at events with him, her at work things, her on business trips. Brielle in places he'd told me he was too busy to call from. I scrolled, numb, my thumb moving on autopilot. Every photo was another brick in a structure I hadn't realized I was standing outside of. I recognized some of the dates, nights he'd said he was at industry mixers, weekends he claimed he was at out-of-town conferences. One Sunday he'd told me he was exhausted from back-to-back meetings and spent the entire day catching up on sleep at his place. There he was in that day's post, awake and very much not alone on a rooftop, arms around her. To everyone who followed him, Brielle Lawson was his girlfriend. Me. At best, a ghost. At worst, an inconvenience. I went into the comments, reading names, piecing together the story that had been told without me. So happy for you two. Didn't think I'd ever see you settle down, but here we are. When's the wedding? No one questioned anything. Why would they? The story he curated was seamless. My heart was pounding, but my head felt weirdly clear. I backed out of the app and hit call on my friend Ethan's name. He picked up on the second ring. Hey Sloan, you okay? It's late. Can you look at something for me? I said. My voice sounded distant in my own ears. Sure, what's up? I'm sending you Landon's Instagram. Tell me what you see. There was a beat of silence while I copied the handle, pasted it into a text, hit send. A minute passed, then another. Sloan? Ethan said slowly. Yeah? What the hell am I looking at? Describe it, I said. I needed to know I wasn't losing my mind. It's your boyfriend's profile, he said. But there's this woman all over it. Brielle something. She's in, like, every photo for the last few months. They look together, like very together. For how long? I asked. I mean, based on posts? At least 4 months, probably more. He paused. You didn't know? No, I said. I stopped looking. He told me his Instagram was for work and that I wouldn't understand his content strategy. Jesus. Ethan blew out a breath. What are you going to do? He'll be home eventually, I said. I'm going to show him his own story and see what he says. Do you want me to come over? He asked. I can be there in 20. I pictured Ethan on my couch, the way he'd look at Landon, the fight that might erupt. I didn't want chaos. I wanted clarity. No, I said. If you're awake tomorrow, I'll call you. I needed someone else to confirm I'm not imagining this. You're not, he said softly. Sloan, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I said, me too. We hung up. I sat there, the TV still flickering silent light across the room, my phone heavy in my hand. I went back into Landon's story and took more screenshots. The club photo, the dinner, the beach, the morning selfie. Evidence, like I was building a case file. At 1:39 a.m., I heard his key in the lock. The door opened, letting in a gust of cold air and the sound of his laughter fading from outside. He stepped in, a little unsteady but not sloppy, scrolling on his phone. He looked up, startled, when he saw me sitting on the couch, lights on. You're still up, he said. I didn't answer. I just turned my phone so the screen faced him. The image, his arm around Brielle, faces pressed together, that caption glowing brightly between us. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then all the color drained from his face, like someone had pulled a plug. Sloan. I didn't speak. I just swiped to the next screenshot. The beach, then the restaurant, then the bed. Each one another striking match in a room full of gasoline. How long? I asked quietly. He swallowed. It's complicated. How long? I repeated. He looked at the floor, then back at me. 6 months, he said finally. But it's not what you think. You've been publicly dating someone else for 6 months, I said, while living with me. She doesn't know about you either, he said quickly. I kept things separate. Different parts of my life. Different parts of your life, I echoed. You mean your real life and your off-screen life? The one that matters socially and the one that does your laundry? He winced. That's not fair. No, I said. What's not fair is you telling me I don't matter socially while your image girlfriend has been getting the captions and the soft lighting and the heart emojis. I love you, he said, voice cracking. I do, but she's good for my career. She's connected. People see us together and doors open. It's strategic. And I'm what? I asked. Stability? Rent control? A girl you can come home to when the rooftop closes? He flinched again. I thought I could manage it, he said. Keep my feelings for you and the benefits of being with her. I didn't want to hurt anyone. You managed a double life for half a year, I said. You didn't trip and fall into it. You scheduled it. Silence stretched between us, taut and thin. Get out, I said. Sloan, it's 2 a.m, he said. I've been drinking. Can we talk about this tomorrow? You should have thought about that before you posted your other relationship where I could see it, I said. Get out. Go to Brielle's. I'm sure she'll be thrilled to hear who you've been living with. She'll lose it if she finds out, he said, panic flickering in his eyes. Then you'd better hurry, I said, because if you don't walk out that door in the next 5 minutes, I start messaging your coworkers and asking them who they think your girlfriend is. His jaw clenched. For a second, I thought he might call my bluff. I wasn't bluffing. He grabbed a duffel from the closet, shoved random clothes into it, and slung it over his shoulder. He hesitated at the door. You're making a mistake, he said. We can fix this. I am fixing it, I said, by removing you from my life. He opened his mouth, closed it again, and then he was gone. The lock clicked. For a moment, the apartment felt too quiet, too still, like the air was listening. I picked up my phone, opened Instagram, and went to @Brielle Lawson. Her profile was public. Photos of her and Landon, filtered and golden, smiled back at me. I hit message. Hi, Brielle. I thought you should know the man you've been posting as your boyfriend for the last 6 months has been living with me for the past year and has been in a relationship with me for 2. I've attached screenshots of our apartment, our messages, and a photo of us together from last month. You deserve to know who he really is. I attached everything. Hit send. Then I blocked Landon on my phone, on every app. Anywhere his name appeared, I pressed block like it was a small, private exorcism. I put my phone face down on the table, leaned back against the couch, and stared at the ceiling. 3 nights ago, my boyfriend told me I didn't matter socially. That was the last night he got to matter in my life at all. Brielle replied faster than I expected. I'd barely slept. The sky outside was just starting to go from black to deep blue when my phone buzzed with a notification from someone I didn't know personally, but already felt welded to my life. @Brielle Lawson. There was no greeting, just, "Are you serious?" Then, before I could answer, he told me he lived alone. He told me he'd been single for a year. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I took a breath and typed, "Yes, I'm serious. Landon and I have been together for 2 years. He moved into my place last spring. I have photos, texts, rent receipts. I'm not doing this to hurt you. You just deserve to know you're not the only one. A few seconds later, can we talk? Like actually talk? Call? I stared at that message for a long beat. On one hand, the last thing I wanted was to spend my morning dissecting my own humiliation with a stranger. On the other hand, she wasn't really a stranger. She'd been living in a different version of my reality for months. Okay, I wrote, I'll call you. Her number popped up on my screen. I hit dial. Hello? Her voice was smaller than I expected. Less like the confident woman in Landon's photos. More like me, sitting on my couch with my heart in pieces. Hey, it's Sloan, I said. From the message? Right. She swallowed hard. I could hear it. So, you're really his girlfriend? Was, I said on instinct. But yeah, 2 years. She laughed, short and bitter. I thought I was his girlfriend for 6 months. At least that's the story I got. We spent the next hour comparing timelines like we were untangling two versions of the same spreadsheet. On her side, there were first dates that lined up perfectly with weekends he'd told me he was swamped with a client launch. Beach trips booked over back-to-back strategy offsites. Mornings at her place when he texted me that he'd crashed at a coworker's after a late-night brainstorming session. He told me you were a roommate, she said at one point. Somebody who rented a room from him when he first moved to the city. Said you were quiet, kept to yourself, that sometimes you forgot he had meetings and got annoyed when he came home late. I almost laughed. That's creative. I've lived in this apartment for 5 years. He moved in with me because his old place was too far from the action. I'm sorry, she said softly. I'm sorry too, I replied. He made you his public girlfriend and me his stability plan. His check engine light, she said. I guess I was the shiny paint job. We both went quiet. What are you going to do? She asked eventually. I already did it, I said. I kicked him out. Last night. This morning. Whatever time counts as now. Yeah, she said. I'm done too. Once I stopped shaking. We stayed on the line a moment longer, two women bound together by one man's lies, breathing in sync. For what it's worth, Brielle said. I stalked his tagged photos once a few months ago. I saw you in the background of a video on someone else's account. When I asked about you, he said you were his ex, that things had ended badly and you hadn't moved out yet. My chest tightened. Of course he did. I should have pushed harder, she muttered. But I didn't want to be jealous. I let him narrate his own story. Yeah, I said quietly. Me too. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet for a while, phone in my lap, trying to remember what my life had felt like before all of this reshuffled it. By mid-morning, the fallout began. Text message from an unknown number. Hey, it's Mark from Landon's team. Are you okay? Instagram DM from someone I'd met once at a launch party. So, are you and Landon still together? Because there's drama and I don't know what's real. Another DM. I'm on Brielle's close friends. She's posting like she's having a breakdown. Thought you should know. I hadn't seen any of it. I'd blocked Landon the second he walked out. But the internet has a way of looping back around even when you're trying to step out of the circle. Ethan called around noon. You went nuclear? He asked. No hello? I told the truth, I said. Same thing in his world, he said. He posted this long story at like 9 a.m. about navigating complex emotions and needing privacy while he works through mistakes. Then he started crying on camera. It was a lot. Why are you watching his stories? I asked. Because I like to know where to aim my anger, he said dryly. He deleted everything after 20 minutes, but not before half the city screenshotted it. Of course, I murmured. What do you need? He asked, the shift in his tone so gentle it made my throat ache. I don't know yet, I admitted. Just stay my friend? Non-negotiable, he said. Also, minor detail, but I'm proud of you. For what? I asked. For not letting him talk you into staying his side character, Ethan said. He doesn't get to do PR on your life and call it love. After we hung up, my phone buzzed again. A new email notification slid across the top of my screen. From landon.pr1c.news started. Subject. Please read this. I stared at it, at the ridiculous attempt to dodge the blocks I'd already put in place. My finger hovered for a second. Then I hit delete. Another notification. Another email from the same address. This time I opened the menu and created a filter. Anything from that sender went straight to trash. I wasn't going to read a carefully crafted apology from a man who treated affection and branding as the same thing. By Sunday evening, my call log looked like a stranger's phone. I had missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize, people I barely knew, even one labeled Landon's office. I didn't answer any of them. Monday morning, I made coffee, sat at my desk, and tried to focus on work. Numbers lined up obediently in their cells, graphs updated when I tweaked formulas, but nothing settled the buzzing in my head. Then my phone rang again. This time I recognized the name, Marianne Price, Landon's mother. I hesitated, then picked up. She had never been anything but kind to me. She'd mailed me a cookbook once because I'd mentioned I didn't know what to do with a slow cooker. "Hi, Marianne," I said. "Sloan." Her voice sounded frayed. "Honey, I hope it's okay that I called. Landon he's a mess, and he won't tell me what happened. He keeps saying he ruined everything and you won't talk to him." My fingers tightened around the mug. "That part is true," I said. "I won't talk to him." "What did he do?" she asked. "Please, I'm not calling to defend him. I just need to understand." "Did he tell you he's been seeing someone else?" I asked. Silence hummed in my ear. "What?" she whispered. "Brielle," I said. "You might have seen her on his Instagram. Blonde, works in marketing, likes rooftop photos." "I thought she was a client," Marianne said, sounding faint. "He mentioned her once, said she was important for his portfolio." "She's been introduced as his girlfriend for 6 months," I said calmly. "At events, to friends, online, all while he was living with me and telling me he was just busy with work." "No," she said. "No, that can't be right. Last month he told me you two might move in together officially, that he could see proposing in a year." "He's been living here for almost a year," I said. "He told Brielle I was a roommate, or an ex, depending on which story fit the crowd." "Oh my God," she breathed. "I had no idea. Sloan, I am so sorry. That is not how I raised him." I believed her. Marianne was the kind of woman who baked for her neighbors and mailed handwritten notes. But decent people can raise children who learn to bend truth like copper wire. "I appreciate you saying that," I said gently, "but this isn't your responsibility. You didn't make his choices." "Still," she said, voice cracking, "you deserve better. You always did. If you never want to speak to him again, I understand. Just take care of yourself, okay?" "I will," I said. "You too." We hung up. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again with the same caller ID. I answered, thinking she'd forgotten something. "Sloan, please don't hang up," Landon's voice said. I hung up. Then I blocked Marianne's number too, because apparently he'd decided her love for him was another route back into my life. The rest of the week blurred into a montage of other people's reactions. Some messages defended him. "Everyone makes mistakes. He's under a lot of pressure in his industry. Maybe you could at least talk once for closure." Others didn't. "Honestly, he's always been kind of shady about his status. I'm glad you found out. I'm sorry it was like this." The most honest ones were just nosy. "What happened? Spill the tea. Is the rumor true?" I ignored them all. On Wednesday, I sat on my couch with my phone in my hand, thumb hovering over the Instagram app. I hadn't posted anything in months. My grid was sporadic, a plant here, a coffee there, a blurry sunset. I opened a new post and chose the plain text background. No photo, no aesthetic, just words. I typed, "Sometimes you discover you're someone's secret. Sometimes you discover someone else is your partner's secret. Either way, you learn who people really are." I didn't tag anyone. I didn't use his name. I didn't even enable comments. I just hit share and watched the words appear on my feed, black on white. Within minutes, my DMs lit up again. Curious friends, distant acquaintances, people who'd quietly suspected something was off, suddenly emboldened. I put my phone face down and let it buzz against the table until the sound became background noise. For the first time since this started, I felt something shift inside me. Not relief exactly, but a kind of alignment. I hadn't lied. I hadn't spun a brand. I'd just told the truth. Thursday morning, the doorman called my apartment before I'd even had a chance to finish making coffee. "Ms. Mercer," he said, voice tight. "There's someone here asking to come up, a Mr. Price." My pulse flickered once, sharp and irritated, like a muscle twitch. "No," I said, "he isn't allowed up." "He's insisting," the doorman added carefully. "Should I ask security to move him along?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes, please." I hung up. For a moment, the apartment was absolutely still. I could picture the scene downstairs. Landon standing in the lobby, probably dressed well enough that strangers wouldn't guess his life was collapsing. He'd be practiced, polite almost, the way he always was when he needed to charm people who didn't know him. He wasn't used to being told no. 20 minutes later, a text from Ethan lit up my phone. "He's been standing outside your building for 2 hours. Someone posted him on a neighborhood forum asking if he's okay." I stared at the message, then typed, "Not my problem." Ethan responded with the picture. A fuzzy, zoomed-in shot of Landon pacing the sidewalk, running his hands through his hair, his perfect composure finally cracking. I turned my phone face down. Late that afternoon, when the sun was sliding down behind the buildings and painting the kitchen in gold, I heard a soft thunk at my front door. Mail. I opened it expecting bills. Instead, there was a thick white envelope with my name written in handwriting I'd recognize anywhere. Sharp strokes. Precise. Trying too hard to be elegant. Sloan. I stood there for a long moment, just holding it. It felt heavy. Not physically, but in the way something carries the weight of someone else's panic. I almost threw it away without opening it. Almost. Instead, I slid my thumb under the seal and unfolded 4 pages of dense, frantic handwriting. It began with the kind of sweeping apology that sounded less like regret and more like a PR pitch. Sloan, please hear me. I made a terrible mistake. I can't lose you. You mean more to me than anyone ever has. What happened with Brielle? I skimmed. Excuses. Every line was an excuse disguised as vulnerability. You know how much pressure I'm under in my field. You know how important these connections are for my career. She helped me get into rooms I've spent years trying to break into. I thought I could keep my professional life and my personal life separate. I didn't want to hurt you. That's why I kept you out of it. And then, in the middle, the sentence that made my jaw tighten hard enough to ache. I thought if you knew how much she helped me professionally, you would feel insecure. Insecure. Right. Because the only explanation for dishonesty was that the woman you betrayed might not take it with grace. The rest of the letter was frantic attempts at justification. He said he loved me. He said he loved her too, but in a different way. He said he'd been overwhelmed and conflicted and didn't know how to choose. He said he never wanted to lose either of us. There was no line where he said what he did was wrong. Every sentence was about consequences he didn't want to face. At the very end, he'd written, "Please call me. Even if it's just once, I need closure, and you deserve answers." Closure. I folded the letter neatly, like I was putting away someone else's laundry. Then I tore it cleanly in half, then in quarters, then into strips so small they fluttered like white confetti into the trash bin. I wiped my hands on my jeans and felt nothing. Not anger, not grief, just the quiet relief of clearing space. Friday morning, I got a text from a number I recognized but had never saved. Brielle. He showed up at my office building today. Security had to escort him out. I thought you should know in case he tries to come back to you next. I typed back, "Thanks, I'm prepared." She wrote, "I'm sorry this is happening." Me too, I thought, but I didn't say it. Not out of cruelty, just because I was finally learning which feelings weren't mine to carry. By Saturday, the story had traveled further than I expected. A mutual acquaintance, someone I barely knew but had met at a charity event once, showed up at my apartment holding a giant thermos of chai latte. Her name was Lila, and she had always been neutral territory. Not Landon's friend, not mine, just orbit. I opened the door halfway. "Can I help you?" I asked. She held up the thermos like a peace offering. "Can I talk to you? Just for a minute?" I hesitated, then stepped back and let her in. She sat awkwardly on the edge of my couch, smoothing the knees of her leggings. "I want to start by saying I'm not on his side," she said. "I'm not here to defend him." "Okay," I said. She took a steadying breath. "He's unraveling. Really unraveling. And I know you don't owe him anything because you don't, but I also know he's been calling everyone he's ever met, trying to get someone to convince you to speak to him. It's bad." I said nothing. She seemed to take that as permission to continue. "He told people you're the only person who's ever really seen him," she said. "That he made a mistake because he was scared of losing opportunities, not because he didn't care about you." "That sounds like his brand," I said quietly. Lila bit her lip. "Look, I'm not asking you to take him back, or even talk to him. But would you consider giving him closure? Just one conversation? I think it might stop him from spiraling." I looked at her, really looked. She meant well. But she was asking me to fix the emotional consequences of a disaster I hadn't created. "Lila," I said, voice calm, "he had 6 months to pick honesty. 6 months to look me in the eye and tell me the truth. He didn't. He doesn't get to ask for closure from the person he lied to every day." She exhaled, defeated. "I figured you'd say that," she murmured. "Then why come?" I asked. "Because," she said, "you're the only person in this whole mess who seems to have any sense left, and I needed to hear you say it out loud." She left quietly. I locked the door behind her. For the first time in days, the silence in my apartment didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. 6 weeks passed. Not quickly, not cleanly, but steadily, like the way a bruise fades. First the sharp purple outrage, then the yellowing ache, then the quiet, almost invisible reminder that something once hurt there. I did the things people do when they're rebuilding themselves. I moved apartments. I changed routines. I replaced my living room lamp because Landon once said it looked budget. I bought a new mattress, firm, supportive, chosen entirely for me. I reorganized my kitchen drawers and threw out anything that reminded me of compromise. When people talk about starting over, they don't mention how many tiny decisions are involved, how many objects carry the residue of someone else's presence, how even silence sounds different in a space that's finally yours again. My new apartment had tall windows and pale wood floors and a balcony that overlooked a row of bookstores and coffee shops. Not glamorous, but peaceful in a way my old life hadn't been in a long time. I went back to work full-time. I met friends for lunch. I took long walks with Ethan after dark, when the sidewalks were cooler and the city felt softer around the edges. And eventually, cautiously, I started dating again. Nothing serious, nothing strategic, just slow conversations over warm pastries, shared stories under streetlights, laughter that didn't feel forced. I learned to listen to myself. If someone made me feel like I needed to shrink myself, no. If someone treated my quiet as invisibility, no. If someone hinted that I didn't fit their image, absolutely not. If someone wanted to keep our relationship off screen for reasons that felt like hiding, never again. It felt good to have rules. Not in the rigid way Landon lived, but in the soft, deliberate way a person builds boundaries after discovering where they break. About a month into this new life, I was standing in line at a coffee shop near my office when someone tapped my shoulder. "Sloan?" I turned. It took me a moment to place her. Shoulder-length dark hair, glasses, blazer too crisp for a Saturday morning. Then I remembered. She'd been on Landon's team. We'd met twice at corporate mixers, exchanged polite smiles, nothing more. She gave a sad little wave. "Hey." "Hi," I said. "Long time." "Yeah." She shifted awkwardly. "I won't keep you, I promise. I just wanted to say something." "Okay." She lowered her voice. "I'm sorry for what he put you through." I blinked. She rushed on. "We didn't know the full extent of it," she said. "We all saw him bringing Brielle around and assumed you two had broken up." He implied it pretty heavily. "He told people we split?" I asked. She grimaced. "He didn't say it directly, but he let people believe it. Said things like, 'It's complicated,' or 'We're in different places.' He made it sound like you were out of the picture." I felt something inside me settle. Not hurt, not surprise, just confirmation. "He built that narrative really carefully," she continued. "And honestly, it was easier not to question it. People don't want to start drama at work." "I get it," I said. "Not your responsibility." She nodded, relieved. "I just wanted you to know that a lot of us felt something was off. We just didn't know how off." "How is he?" I asked before I could stop myself. The woman hesitated. "Not great. He lost the job. HR found issues with expenses, misrepresentation at events. You know the industry. Image is everything. When the Instagram stuff surfaced, leadership started looking closer. And once they did, she trailed off. "I see," I said quietly. "He's been laying low," she said. "Deleted most of his social media, pulling away from everyone. I don't think he's dating anyone, not after what happened." I nodded. She squeezed my arm gently. "For what it's worth, you deserve better. A lot better." And with that, she left. I stood there a moment longer, letting the words wash over me. Not soothing, not painful, just real. Then I picked up my coffee and walked out into the cool, bright morning. Sometimes healing feels like nothing. Just time passing and you not breaking. Sometimes it feels like control returning, quietly, then all at once. Sometimes it feels like standing in front of a mirror and recognizing your own face again. I had been someone's secret, someone's afterthought, someone's liability, someone's unacknowledged, unposted, unclaimed life. But not anymore. Not ever again. Because here's what I learned. People tell you how they see you long before they admit who they really are. If someone says you don't matter socially, what they mean is you don't matter to their performance of themselves. If someone keeps you hidden, it's because the version of life they're selling doesn't include the truth. And sometimes, social media doesn't expose people. Their own choices do. I don't think about Landon much anymore. Not in anger, not in longing. Just as a chapter I read once and decided not to reread. If I ever saw him again, I don't think I'd say anything. Not forgiveness.